本日はお集まりいただきましてありがとうございます。
Thank you very much indeed for joining us today. I am Senior Curator of the National Arts Center Tokyo, and my name is Miyajima. And I worked as a curator on the Japanese side, and I worked together with Jisun Okraman as the main curator for the Bulgari exhibition, which you can see at our museum. So I was a co-curator for this exhibition, and I have the privilege of being the moderator and the MC for today's proceedings. I'd just like to talk about today's schedule and also give you a brief introduction to the guest speakers. The Kaleidos exhibition looks at the colors of Bulgari jewelry. At the same time, it looks at jewelry as a way to spur cultural dialogue between Italy and Japan. And today, we will be looking at these themes, and we hope to be able to explore this in greater depth and detail. So today's schedule will be the Bvlgari Heritage Curator Director and Exhibition Curator Jisan Okraman, who's participating from Rome, to share how the Bvlgari Kaleidos brings Italy and Japan together and how the encounters have been set up. And then we have our guests from Italy, the guest speakers, Constantino Dorazio and Miss Sara Mengazzo, speak about Rome, Bulgari, architecture and colors. Now, Director Constantino Dorazio is currently Director of National Museums of Perugia and also the Regional Director of Umbria Museums. And he's also known as an internationally renowned art historian and curator. And I should also mention that she's written about Leonardo da Vinci, Raphael, and also about Caravaggio, and also that they have been translated into Japanese. So you can find out further details if you look at Amazon. And you could go to our library to see one of the copies that we have of his books. At the same time, we should mention that he has written this book about Rome and Bulgari. So this looks at the architectural sites and archaeological sites in Rome and how they connect with Bulgari. And you can use this as a guidebook to go around Rome. And Professor Rossella Menegazzo is currently teaching at Milan University, and her specialty is history of Eastern art, but her special expertise has been Japanese design and also culture, and has also taught at Japanese universities. You may have seen the Italian pavilion at the Osaka Expo in 2025. She was a supervisor for the culture programs for the Expo 2025 Italian Pavilion. Also, well, she has published a tremendous lot of material about Japanese culture. I'd just like to introduce one example. This is called Iro, and it looks at what Japanese colors are like. It's a pity I can't show you every single page, but this is an incredibly beautiful book. And we do hope that you're going to be able to find a copy sometime, somewhere, to look at it properly. And so Bvlgari jewelry is going to be a way to look at how we can link together the cultures of Italy and Japan together. And we have two of the best people possible to speak about this. who will be speaking after Gisela. And at the very end, if we do have time, we're going to be having a roundtable discussion. We plan to end at 7 o'clock. And that is how the schedule is going to be. And so, with no further ado, I'd like to invite Gislan to speak about the exhibition and how it brings Italy and Japan together via Bulgari jewelry. Please begin.
Thank you very much, Miyajima-san. Minasan konbanwa. It's the morning for me in Rome, but I'm very happy to be virtually with you. That's the magic of technology. I hope you can hear me well and that we can, in a way, be connected together today. As Miyajima-san was just saying, this exhibition is really a cultural bridge in between Italy and Japan, and it has been built as such to be developing properly a moment, a cultural moment in between the two countries, with the help, of course, of our jewels, but also the idea of connecting the various elements in which jewelry can create, more or less, we could say, this bridge in between the two countries. I'll be quicker than our main speakers who will present these connections in between the countries in a better way in a few minutes. But I'd like to start with a few images that those of you who visited the exhibition will, of course, recognize. So to reproject yourself within the exhibition and start as such. So let's start with the first slide as such, and you will see it. So in the presentation, of course, the idea is to enter in this world, and in the next slide, you will see the two first pieces that are in the exhibition. Whenever you enter in the exhibition, whenever you enter in the exhibition, you actually have these two first pieces that immediately catch the eyes. On the left-hand side, this is a paperweight, so a very original, one-of-a-kind object made in yellow gold. The columns are in lapis lazuli, the blue gemstone. There's black onyx, the few diamonds all around, and it represents the facade of a Greco-Roman temple. So we are in the Roman tradition of architecture in this piece. Next to the piece, the second showcase, properly in the same area as the introduction, you have a large brooch. This is the piece on the right, a circular form. It represents a tree within the background, Mount Fuji. This one is totally inspired by the art of ukiyo-e, the art of Japanese woodblock prints, and reflects a diamond Mount Fuji and a landscape of mother of pearls with yellow gold and enameling for the different colors. These two pieces, if you note the dates, are more or less of the same time, the early 1970s, which is very interesting because it was an age in which, in terms of culture, Italy was also looking back in its past, but also looking all around the world for such inspirations. And for Bulgari was something very important to be not only talking about itself, its own culture, the Greco-Roman one, but also opening up to the world. In 1970, as a reminder, it was already in Osaka at the time, a universal exhibition. So it might be the connection that could be done because the Bvlgari family noticed inspiration from the Japanese world. And we thought starting the exhibition with these two pieces was a great element to properly let the visitors understand this exhibition is about a bridge. And we are very honored that we received the patronage of the Italian embassy in Italy for being a cultural exhibition and making this connection in between the two countries. If we move further to the next slide, you will see that the presentation that we developed in terms of the exhibition is also important in terms of the pattern you see within the exhibition. Every room is inspired, as you see, by a shape, which is the one of the ginkgo leaf, which is very important because it reflects the idea of symbol of Tokyo, but also something we have a lot at Bulgari, which are this motif we see in the mosaics of the Bath of Caracalla, the emperor in Rome. And they actually illustrate a lot these kind of inspirations, which make, again, a motif present for both Italy and Japan. And you understand that since the slide to the second slide, both the objects and the scenography, the exhibition design, are inspired by the elements of both Japanese and Italian culture. And I believe it was something important we wanted to enhance in the exhibition, because for us, it was building properly a space that would fit, I would say, with both culture and understand both in the same way. I've been a bit chatty. Miyajima-san, if you have any questions so far on your side, feel free, of course, to jump in.
Thank you. Giseline was talking about the slide. Can you pull up that slide again? As he had just shared, if you go into the exhibition space and how it's been designed, it was actually undertaken by Sana. It's a Japanese architectural duo. They did the overall exhibition design, and Auckland just explained. It is in the shape of ginkgo tree, ginkgo leaves. So, and this recalls the mosaic patterns of the Caracalla bath, and it's a symmetry of Tokyo. So it links both. So that is why this exhibition space is a bridge between Japan and Italy. So the symmetry of Tokyo is ginkgo. We knew that, but this actually green mark looks like a ginkgo leaf, but according to Tokyo's explanation, it's not actually inspired by a ginkgo tree or leaf, but it's actually inspired by T of Tokyo, so alphabet. So it wasn't necessarily related to the ginkgo leaf. So that's what the Tokyo Metropolitan Government had explained. But ginkgo tree is a symbol tree of Tokyo. So in that sense, a ginkgo leaf is a motif that connects Tokyo and Rome. So the jewelries that were introduced, if you look at it very carefully, it looks like a ginkgo leaf. So even here, you see a link, the exhibition space and the shape of the jewelry. I hope you will be able to observe that as well. Once you enter the exhibition space, once you go in, at the very beginning, you see Mount Fuji and the temple. And then you will see a movie. And if you want to the next space, it's also a movie space. And then in the first space in chapter 1, if you walk, you will see this jewelry in the shape of ginkgo leaves. So when you go to the exhibition, I hope you will pay attention to this. So I got a little long, so I will hand it back to you, Giseline. Back to you.
Thank you very much. In that particular image, we wanted to translate to the visitors the shape of the exhibition narrative, which we have within the exhibition. We would love, if we were a bird, we would fly over the walls of the exhibition and we will see the shape of it, which you cannot see. This is why we made this kind of paper document at the entrance of the exhibition, so everyone will understand the structure in which people walk through within the exhibition, with smaller and larger ginkgo shapes that you will identify. As Miyajima-san was saying, the architecture has been given to the Japanese duo of Sana, And in our next slide, you will see that it's also collaborative process in between Sejima-san and Nishijawa-san, the Japanese architects, with a studio of designers from Italy called Forma Fantasma. They have worked with Sana in building a comprehensive Japanese/Italian atmosphere, I would say, in which the minimal contemporary design of Sana will also welcome colors and materials from Italy. We can see that some of the carpet areas have some colors, which with Sana we wanted to develop to build spaces that immediately will help visitors, help yourself to understand this is, for example, the red area, this is the green area. You understand the different spaces. In the same time, the standalone showcases that you see in some of the areas, which have been presented with both a combination of colored marble and colored lacquered metals that are put together. And whenever the marble is not using color, as you see on the right-hand side, which is the third chapter of the exhibition, it's travertine marble, which is a marble used quite a lot in Rome in many of the monuments, as you will see later on. So this is really also the idea of building elements with materials that connects the Italian culture with designs that would reflect Japanese understanding of the aesthetic. And that was the idea we wanted to put together in a way to have a mix of references, I would say, that the public will understand and that will make also this bridge in between the different spaces. Miyajime-san, would you like to add something to this thing?
今、オークレンマンさんからご説明した完璧な説明を
I think it was a perfect explanation from Jeslan, so I don't think I have that much more to add, but I believe that you have already visited the exhibition, but maybe some of you haven't yet. But just for today, if you listen to this talk, if you have the ticket still, you can present it to the reception, and you'll be able to revisit the exhibition space again. So it's just limited for today, but I hope you will pay attention to the color of the carpet. It's in the shape of ginkgo leaf, and you will be able to recognize that it's in the shape of ginkgo leaf. So please enjoy the form and also the combination with the jewelry and also the space showcase. It is the design by Forma Fantasma. They use marbles, and the designs are perfectly fit for the jewelry. I think you tend to focus on jewelry first and foremost, but actually, in order to really make sure that jewelries are highlighted, the showcases are particularly designed for that. So I will hand it back to you again, Oakland.
One of the key elements that we wanted, both on the Bvlgari side, of course, but also on the National Art Center of Tokyo side, was to have moments that would be not dedicated to jewels, but also to different art forms. Within the exhibition, you might have noticed there are 3 art installations. These 3 art installations have been given, in the next slide, to 3 different artists. 1 is Italian, 2 are Japanese. And so together they build another bridge, which is not the jewelry side, but which is in a large way the fact that color touches all the arts, including contemporary art. And so we have asked to Lara Favaretto, the Italian one, and Mariko Mori and Akiko Nakayama, the Japanese ones, to build not only one artwork, but properly an installation. So it's a room dedicated to creativity in which there will be, for each of the artists, a different perspective on color that they will bring to the visitor's visit. On the left side, you may notice again what Miyajima-san was saying, the ginkgo shape. You have this artwork of Lara Favaretto, so a very playful, even funny way of working with colors, I would say, in a space which is a reusing of a car wash elements that are twisting, turning all around whenever you enter. But the use of these colors are selected following the chapters of the exhibition, the primary colors and secondary colors. So the goal, the aim of the artwork was to create a transition between chapter 1, the science of color, and chapter 2, the symbolism, the culture of color. The artwork you see in the middle by Mariko Mori is also a perfect transition between chapter 2 and chapter 3. Chapter 2 was about symbols, and this onogoro stone reflects Japanese mythological references. Whether when you walk around the piece and the artist intended us as visitors to turn around, you see color changing within the crystal, which because it's a kind of monumental gem she invented. And because of light, you actually see the changing of colors. And it leads to chapter 3 called The Power of Light. So it's very much about light. And the final artist, Akiko Nakayama, is at the conclusion of the exhibition. It really closed and in the same time opens up the exhibition with a video installation in which you really enter in her, I would say, painting pot, with the animation of these bubbles around that feels to see cabochons or rounded stones, but made with paintings. So it was an interpretation of the gems, full of color, and a way also to enter ourselves inside the power of color, I will say, and inside the title of the exhibition, because we remind that it's Kaleidos, so it's kind of kaleidoscopic effect of color we wanted to conclude for the ending of the exhibition. Miyajima-san, up to you.
はい、大丈夫です。私から付け加えることは
I
ないんで
don't
す
really
けど、
have
今ちょっ
anything
と
to add at this point.
奥
It's
山
just
さんが
that
言ってくださったことの中で、そうですね、
one of the
最後の
points
中
that
山真紀子さん
you
の、
mentioned,
今、
the Akiko Nakayama
皆様が見て
piece
左に映ってる
on the far
最後
right.
の作品のことがちょっと翻訳で伝わらなかったかもしれないので、補
Perhaps
足して
I just like
説明
to
する
add
と、
part
中
of
山さんの
what
作品は
it's about.
この展
The
覧会
work
のメイン
is
ビジュアルになっている、まあ、
is about
カボションカットとい
the
うか、
cabochon cut.
丸いカットがで使っの宝石ジュエリーが宝石が多色の宝石が使われたジュエリーから直接インスピレーション
It was directly inspired by the jewelry piece, which was the main visual image for this
こう
exhibition.
水滴というかこう動い
And
ている水か
it's
らこう液滴泡のようなこう水の玉のようなものが出来上がってくるところを映像でリアルタイムで捉えてカメラでリアルタイ
the
ムに捉えて
water
こう
drops
液
or the
体
water
に
bubbles
投影してるんです
are
けれど
being
も、
filmed in
この
real
液
time.
滴がまるで
And these
ジュエリ
water
ーが
drops
カボションカットで
actually
丸
look
く
almost
カッ
like
トされ
the
た
cabochon
宝
cut
石の一
themselves.
部のようなそれが流れていくようなところをこうリアルタイム
And
で投影されているん
that
です
is
ね。
part of
それが
what
非
you
常
can
に
see in real time.
展示されているジュエリーと
So it
響き合って見
really
えるような
links
そういう
and
インスタレー
resonates
ションが
with
この
the
展覧会の最後に
jewelry
展
that you
示され
can
ていま
see.
す。ちょっと多分うまく伝わってなかったかもしれないの
And
で
it
ちょっ
might
と
not have
説明いた
been
しました。
coming through
じゃあ、
clearly
奥
because
山
of the
さんお
translation.
願いします。
Please continue.
On our final, I would say, images, I just wanted to end with a note, which is that the first bridge we built is also the collaboration we had with the museum. I mean, I've been very honored and happy of on the Bvlgari side working with Jima-san, with all the team of the NACT, because we have built a a moment which I feel you have understood as a visitor, as a public, which is not a brand exhibition, but properly a cultural moment in which we wanted to give kind of education on color, I would say. How color is infused in our life, is present in many of the aspects we think about, all the arts, and jewelry is an example of the arts. And as we nickname us master of color gemstones at Bvlgari, it for me is it was a way to explain the why we kind of became the master of color gems. So if we see the images, there are two moments in the exhibition in terms of education that were very important for us, both on Bvlgari and NACT side. Was an introduction room with a video you would see at the beginning, because it's important to have a kind of quick but important, I hope it worked, review of who is Bvlgari, why the colors are so important, why we are from Rome, all these aspects in 2 minutes. So it's a very introductory part, which we wanted with the key visual with cabochon that Miyajima-san was mentioning, which is the one you see on the left. And on the right, we also wanted to not just be an exhibition about the past, about the heritage, about the archives, but also to be connecting not only Italy and Japan, but also past and present with, of course, more recent pieces in the exhibition, but also recent, I would say, technology, computer-assisted systems, but also artificial intelligence works. And the room you see on the right is called the Wonder Gem. It's a place in which you kind of dive into the archive, in which you immerse with colors in a way. And it was a way to transport some of our advertising campaigns full of colors also. So that was the link in a digital way through this experience. So I would say, yes, the bridge is also what we built in between the curatorial side, I would say, Miyajima-san and myself, to create something that would aim, we hope, to let you as visitors understand how color are strongly connected to, of course, the Bvlgari identity, but also to all our aspects related to arts. Back to you, Miyajima-san.
奥沼さんありがとうございました。
So thank you, Gislan. As Gislan said, it's been about spent like 2 years to do this, curate this exhibition, and through this process, Bvlgari is a representative jeweler from Rome, Italy. And what is the significance of presenting that, showcasing them here in Tokyo? And I'm so delighted that we have been able to actually realize this exhibition. And so the immersive movie, which you have not experienced yet, I hope you will go and enjoy it yourselves. So should I get back to you? Yes. So let me. Oh, this is the end of Jocelyn's talk. So now I want to invite Constantino Dorazio and Rosella Manicazzo to talk about architecture and colors and how that relates to Rome and also compared to the Japanese culture. What is the perception? What is it that we observe? So,
thank you, Miyajima-san. Thank you for being here. Allow me to thank also the National Art Center Tokyo and Bvlgari Japan for inviting me here. Because this afternoon, I will take you, with the help of Rosella-san, on a tour of Rome that we actually started studying and researching about over 10 years ago. It's a very, very weird situation, because when Bvlgari got acquired by LVMH, it was in that moment that the company started to think how much Bulgari was rooted into Roman tradition and Roman design. It had been before that moment, so we're talking about early 2000, before that moment, it had been quite natural for Bulgari designers, for the Bvlgari family that had funded the company and the brand, to get inspiration from Roman design. And this idea actually started a few years after they settled down in Rome, coming from Greece. So the Bvlgari family has come from Epirus, a region north of Greece. And they were silversmiths, basically. So they were actually working mainly with silver. The design they were following and they were creating was pretty much Oriental. So it had nothing to do with the Greek architecture, and of course nothing to do with Roman architecture and design. But when they settled down in Rome, they started get inspired by what they had around them. And so you will see that in the exhibition quite clearly. At the very end of the exhibition, you will be taken back at the very beginning of the history of Bulgari. And you will encounter pieces that actually look completely out of any position in the history that you have heard, that you have listened, that you have watched before. Of course, being in Rome and looking at what Rome was offering changed completely their idea of design. And there was a key moment in which this started to be very, very deep. In the 1930s, so we're talking about 40 decades of already living and working in Rome for the Bvlgari family, the Bvlgari company started to change their corporate identity and their logo. So this is still the entrance of the flagship store on Via Condotti. And that name, that logo that you have on top, it's it's still there. But at the very beginning, Bvlgari was not written like that. It was written with the same kind of lettering that you have on the caption, okay? In the 30s, they decided to change this lettering, going back to the ancient Roman inscriptions. And this is why the name Bvlgari, as in the brand, has a U written as a V. Because this is how the ancient Romans would write the name Bvlgari. So it was a very, very specific decision. And it was a kind of program, planned change of image for the company that wanted to keep on linking their modern, contemporary design, updated design, because in that moment, 1930s, ancient Roman design in clothing and in any kind of the modern design was quite fashionable. So they decided to go back to the ancient Roman design because it was the updated image back then. And they started to include this lettering in many jewels and in many collections, thinking of a very, very specific concept. Why did they choose Rome? Not just because they were imbued of its design, but because betting on ancient Roman design would give to their design kind of an eternal duration. Rome is the eternal city. Roman design would never go out of fashion. And that's why betting on that, working on that, would give a very long-term duration to their design, which would start becoming classic, as Rome is classic. And that's why they started to look at bridges. This is a 1400 bridge. It was built by Sixtus IV, Pope Sixtus IV, and the oculuses that are actually there to contain the water and to check when the water is going too much high and start becoming dangerous. But the design of the oculus started to become a design that is still produced. And they also started looking at very, very simple details. Look at the central image. These are Roman sidewalks. But these are sidewalks that have been produced in Rome for 2,000 years. So the ancient Romans decided to link the stones of their sidewalks with this specific. So you see, this is a way to link two stones and prevent them from shifting, okay? So this very simple idea that they would see getting out of their store or getting out of their homes, because it's on the sidewalks, started producing another the jewel design idea, because they created this module only by flipping one of these, you see, because these are parallels, you see. So they flipped one and they created this module that you can add just to create earrings, bracelets, or necklaces. So it's a modular way of creating a jewel by this piece that just by the simple movement of flipping one of these two signs created what we call parentesi. Parentesi means brackets, okay? So the bracket idea gave birth to this collection, which dates back 1980s. But it's still produced, and it's very clever. It's a very clever way of thinking of Rome. So Rome is not just inspiring Bulgari through its huge, great monuments, but also through very clever ideas that the ancient Romans had created. So from sidewalks to iconic monuments, because what you see here is the drawing, the design, one of the design of Spanish steps. So there's a very nice story related to these drawing and to the collection dating back 1930s that that was born from Spanish steps. At the very beginning, the Bulgari family opened their very first laboratory and shop at the top of Spanish steps in this area where you have Via Sistina. After 15, 20 years, they opened their second flagship store, which is still the one they still have on Via Condotti, which is exactly at the footstep, that's here, at the foot of Spanish steps. So they were actually going back and forth, back and forth. And so they kind of experienced how these steps are following the natural movement of the hill. In the 1700s, Pope Benedict XIV commissioned the creation of these steps in order to link two parts of the city and allow the pilgrims to get from the lower part up to the other street that would allow them to reach two of the major basilicas, two of the major churches of Rome. But then it became a fantastic masterpiece, architectural masterpiece, because the architect, Nicola Salvi, wanted to give and keep the idea of the natural shape of the hill that was there before the steps were created. So this idea of working on circles that connects one each other and give birth to a very organic shape is rooted in the design of this collection made of necklaces and bracelets. But here you also have a great new method and task and decision that the Bulgari took back then. So they started using a material, a precious stone they had never used before, diamonds. And they started going from silver into a very white and bright jewelry that is based on the idea of how light works with colors and with the color white, which was not part of their design.
Konnichiwa, minasan. I would like to take this point from Bulgari history, speaking about brightness and diamonds and light, because I think it's a big difference in concept and in sensibility with the Japanese, compared to the Japanese sensibility with colors. And I was thinking while you were speaking about architecture, that maybe it's not a matter of sensibility towards color and light, as I was thinking about until now, but the sensibility to color comes first of all from architectural world. So you were speaking about marble and ishi, while when we speak about Japanese culture, we speak about wood and paper. So the light and the concept of light and the concept of the light also in jewelry has a completely different effect. When we speak about è questo, vero? Okay, sbaglio. When we speak about brightness and light in Japan, immediately we have to connect to the feeling of white. But when we speak about white, we have to speak also about black, because both of these are not real colors. It's a matter of light only, to bring all the colors together and to have an effect of light. So speaking about diamonds and this reflection of light, I could say that it's really an Italian and Western way of expressing light, because if we see Japanese word, and I don't speak about jewelry, because if we look at jewelry word in Japan, we have to speak not about necklace or bracelets or this kind of jewelry, but jewelry in Japan are accessories linked to kimono and linked to textiles, more than linked to the body. This is also another interesting point. And when we speak about brightness, we go to speak about the sense of the light, which is in Japan expressed towards the three whites, you know, the white of the linked to the moon, the white linked to the cherry blossoms, the white linked to the snow, which means a light and a brightness and a kind of light which is linked to nature. In the first image, when we saw the temple and the image of a tree and the Fuji-san on the back, I was thinking that maybe the most big difference before speaking about colors is that we, Italian, are made by architecture and geometry. But the Japanese word is based on natural world. So everything encompasses the natural world even if we speak about form, as you are speaking now, and then I want to listen about the following slides and masterpieces from Bvlgari collection, and even if we speak about color. I brought some ideas of the white, because in Japan we have to speak about gradation. It's a matter of gradation, it's a matter of shade. And this sensibility about shade and light, which didn't encompass for example, the glass and the brightness of diamonds, but it was, in the beginning, a matter of shadow, not of light. Light is related to shadow. So we are speaking about the Zen world, we are speaking about the tea ceremony world, and if we speak about architecture, it's not the temple in marble, but maybe it's the chashitsu, the tea room, which we have to refer to speak about space and light. And when we speak about light, we have to speak about black, because the light and the space of light comes out from the black shadows of ink. So if we speak about black ink, like we see in these beautiful double screens of Tohaku, we have to speak about the most black ink, so sumi, iro, the sumi color. And from that one, we go to all the gradation of the grays to arrive to all the gradation of white, which is not a real white. So if we go on to see what happens in between this brightness of the diamond or of the light, which is a refraction of light, we have to go back to see how the light is not refracted, but it's shaded. And it's shaded because we speak about shades of grays. You know that from the sumiro to the many whites, we have a gradation of 2 categories of colors, which are beautiful in Japan, and this is the biggest difference, I think, with Italian sensibility, and also with the Bvlgari way of constructing jewelry, which is the shadows of the nezu, of the gray nezu, which is mouse, no? Nezu means mouse, il topo. And all the gradation of grays are related to this mouse, said nezu colors. And all the gradation of white comes from milk, from snow, from the moon, so everything comes from nature. When we speak about, sorry, devo andare indietro. When we speak about nezu, we have so many colors. They are beautiful colors. Like, for example, the sakura nezu, which is the cherry pink gray, and then the sunezu, which is a gray mouse, very rare and very pure. And then we speak about haijiro, which comes from ashes color of gray. So, and then the silver gray, the ginnezu. This is a fantastic way to see the difference between our sensibilities in color. In Japan, it's not a definite one color, but a gradation of nuances of color. And going over, also I brought this example of colors coming from the color of tea, and they have all in the name the cha character, the cha kanji. And so we are speaking about withered tea brown, which means a kogare cha color, the bunjin cha, or the shirahacha, or the suzume cha, the karacha, the rikancha. All these colors comes from the orange color, but in a brownish way, from the withered wood brown, the Chinese brown, or the Rikan, a famous kabuki actor who wore dresses in a brown color, and he launched this new kind of tea brown color. So we are speaking about brownish oranges, greenish, going to gray and going to light of the white. To go to the black. So also, if we speak about diamonds and brightness, we have to speak, first of all, in the Japanese culture about the black color, which is expressed by the ink color, the sumi. But this sumi goes from the nezu, like you see the hatoba nezu, which is the gray coming from the, how do you see, the toricia. Il passero, how do you say, il passero, which is the bird, yes, coming from the bird, the feather of the bird. So everything comes from the nature, and all these names of colors related to expression of light negate the light. So they are putting the light on the back to show the shadows instead of lightness. So I wanted only to say this to give you the word to go on with other colors, but I think this is the basic difference in accepting and also dressing the light and colors on jewelry and dresses.
Thank you, Rossella-san, for these inspiring words. It is very interesting. I needed a remote. It is very, very interesting because the Bulgari design has always been a connection between shapes and colors. And sometimes colors enhance the shape, the architectural shape they were studying and looking at. And as I told you before, they were looking at iconic monuments, little details, but also urban planning. Because Rome, starting from the 1500s, has changed its urban planning thanks to the Pope, the ideas of the popes that were ruling over the city, but also turning the city, changing the city in a more efficient environment, designing with their architects streets in order to make Rome in a couple of centuries between 14 and 1600 what we call a real open-air theater. And the three streets that you see here, what we call the trident. No, I have to use this. You see here, these three streets. So this is one of the main gates, still one of the main gates that allowed you to enter Rome from north. So you get into this gate and you find, today, you find, and this was designed in the early 1800s, Piazza del Popolo, with the two exedras, with semicircles. And this square was actually designed to allow you to welcome you and enter Via del Corso, the longest ancient street of Rome, and another two streets here that together create this trident. And if you look at this necklace that is displayed in the exhibition, this is how Bulgari thinks and turns a very geometrical design into something more romantic. So the design of the square became a ribbon of diamonds. And the three streets, this became these three parts of the pendant that is enhanced by different colors, by rubies. So this is how color in Bulgari design affects geometry, and the opposite way, how geometry affects the colors. It's a very, very deep and tight relationship. Also here in the 70s, that they looked at the obelisk, the center of the square. It's an ancient Egyptian obelisk. In Rome, we have over 15 ancient Egyptian obelisks brought to Rome by emperors. They were marking ancient Roman monuments. Then popes starting to move this obelisk in other squares and in other parts of the city, and they're still there. If you look at the carving of the shapes carved in the obelisk, there is one image, this one here, that is repeated many times. And this is the name of the pharaoh, because the hieroglyphics on this very obelisk, they create an ode to the pharaoh. The pharaoh is beautiful, the pharaoh is the son of the sun, the pharaoh is great. So the idea of this hieroglyphics in the 70s gave birth to this collection, which is kind of an optical design. So it's very interesting. So Bulgari took a very contemporary design, this optical geometrical design, and they merged it with an ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics seen on a Roman obelisk. So you see how clever is the way they work, and it's still there. So this method, this way of working, it's still part of the way the contemporary Bulgari designers work. Now, you enter from here, you see the obelisk, and then you encounter two twin churches. This one here. Now, how come we've got two almost identical churches in front of us? This was just for the sake of amazing the visitors. So Pope Alexander VII, that ruled over Rome in the second part of the 17th century, started turning some points of the city into spectacles, into shows, into theatrical effects. So you were amazed and you didn't know exactly where to go, which of the three streets to take, because of these two identical corner points that are covered by two almost identical domes that gave the idea of this ring. Two pearls. There are no identical pearls in nature, just like these two domes look identical, but if you go deeper and look at the details, like the bell towers, for example, or the actual colors, after the recent restoration, they change their colors a bit, they become actually different. So it's always a way of finding an interesting reference in the city. For example, in 1991, Mr. Paolo Bulgari, who was in charge of the design and of collecting precious stones all around the world, he managed to buy these emeralds in an auction in New York. And when he had to find a way to cast them into a jewel, he thought of a monument that deals with number 5, because 5 were the emeralds he bought in that auction. And his mind went to St. Angel Castle that is protected by huge walls along the river Tiber that have a pentagonal shape with 5 major points and 5 smaller ones in between, just like this necklace, which is a beautiful piece displayed in the exhibition, that in the image would look quite not so flexible, but it is really flexible and adapts to the women body quite well. So it is geometry that becomes natural and organic when on a woman body. It's up to you, Rosella-san. Yes.
Only to connect again Italian culture with Japanese culture and tradition. When I saw this beautiful necklace and the ruby and the way they use the Bulgari using the violet color, I was thinking about the different value again that we have in Japanese culture, compared to the Italian one. As you know better than me, the Murasaki is the violet that we usually refer to in our Japanese color tradition. And when we speak about Murasaki, we also speak about a color which is related, deeply related with the court, with the imperial court. Murasaki was the color that in the early times, so we means the 8th century, the emperors decided to have in their code of dresses as the color that only the imperial family could use. So it was not a color for everybody. And this is a color that is very special in Japan now. These are some pages from the hero book that I chose also to show some design which is not related to jewelry, but to show the nuances of the Murasaki and to see how many shadow, again, we have, how many tones of Murasaki we have in the Japanese color. Maybe it's a color that we don't have so deeply assumed in Italian culture. We have other colors with this great importance in our tradition, used for dress code and also for jewelry, but in Japan this is really special, and we have many names. The most interesting thing when I studied the Japanese color tradition is related to the names of the colors, because you really understand that colors are related not to gems, not to precious stones, but especially to textile dyeing. So they are soft color, and the softness and the gradation of colors becomes from the dyeing tradition. So you have this Murasaki, which is also the color that we have in the most important romance of the 11th century, the Genji Monogatari, which can be divided into Koki Murasaki, Usuiro, Edo Murasaki, Kodai Murasaki, and then we have Keishi Murasaki and Hashitahiro. So we have so many gradations referring to the deep violet, to the light violet. And the most interesting thing is that many times we refer to this color, to the violet color, without pronunciating violet. So the name of Murasaki is not said in the name of the color, and we say in this case we can use the Usuiro. Usuiro, when you say Usuiro, you mean a light purple. When you say Koiiro, it means the very deep purple. And the other interesting thing is that we use the prefix keishi, kesu, to cancel the color, so to render the gradation of a very soft and light purple. So we have again a different starting point, which is again linked to nature and to the dyeing of materials and of textiles, in this case coming from natural dyeing, which gives birth obviously also to names and new consideration, different considerations of that color compared to our culture.
Very interesting, Rossella, because you have to think that purple, it's been a king, a royal color in European culture as well, starting from the Romans, that got it from the Eastern world. So maybe from all the way from Japan, it went through Asia, reached Middle East, and got into our culture. And the one that actually brought these Oriental traditions into the ancient Roman culture was Emperor Hadrian. Emperor Hadrian was the one that built the Pantheon. I'm sure you've seen that, maybe you visited that. When you enter the Pantheon, you're amazed by this oculus, this hole that is at the center of the dome. Well, that hole has just one aim, one scope, one role. Every 21st of April, the sunlight enters the temple, the Pantheon, through that hole, pointing at noon the entrance of the temple. That moment, the emperor, Hadrian, was stepping into the Pantheon, lit by the sunlight. And the sun has always been in any culture the main god, the origin of any kind of life and religion. So the most powerful entity that would salute the emperor in that moment. So Bulgari could not prevent their design history from designing and get inspiration from the geometry, the perfect circular geometry of the dome of the Pantheon, marked by these squares, no? That has become jewels, diamonds, that mark this beautiful necklace. And I always add the fact that the sun, in this case, is a woman, because in the center of the circle you have the face and the body of a woman. Getting into the circle, going through these circular architectures for the Colosseum, this is one of the most recent inspirations. Gave inspiration to B01 ring. It's very interesting to know that all of the pieces I showed you before are high jewelry pieces, which means that they are unique pieces, okay? But sometimes it happened that the Roman architecture entered even collections that are produced in a major number of pieces, and just like B01, which is considered like an entry piece for those that want to approach Bulgari jewelry. The Colosseum is not exactly circular. It's a kind of an oval. But the proportion of the Colosseum, the 3 levels of arches of the Colosseum, you can find them in the 3 levels of this little belt that goes around your ring. And at the very top and at the very base, the Colosseum was larger, exactly like the 2 sides of B01. That has got a very, very complicated story, because it started as a piece of another kind of Bulgari design that you will find in the exhibition. And then it went into the proportion and the evocation and the allusion to the monument. Just to give Rosella the chance to give you some other information, there is another geometrical shape that is rooted into Bulgari design, which is the octagon. The octagon is part of the Roman architecture because of its symbolic meaning. The octagon is one of the final shapes between the square and the circle. And it's not by chance that Octowatch connects these 2 shapes. The circle is a symbol of the sky, paradise. The square is a symbol of earth. And the octagon is exactly in between, no? Just like in this watch. And it's also part of this beautiful, unique piece that has a beautiful story. It was a present that actor Burt Lancaster gave to Elizabeth Taylor while they were shooting in Rome. They were visiting a Bulgari store quite frequently. And for her 40th birthday, he gave her this necklace, which is one of the most important heritage pieces of Bulgari collection. And it's again a sapphire, a huge sapphire, bought by Bulgari company, that under which they created this design using the octagon, this magical geometrical shape, just as magical is sometimes for those who believe that the power of these beautiful stones. I think you're going to talk about blue, right?
See, maybe only a few words because I think we are late.
Yes, but they allow us to go even a bit longer. Don't you worry.
Only no. You show now the Colosseo and the come
Pantheon.
The Pantheon. And I was thinking that in religious architecture in Japan, we don't have circular forms. All the temple and all the Shinto shrines use always square forms. In India, we have circular forms, but in Japan, it's not a form that was used in architecture. And so also the light coming from the Pantheon, from the upper part, is a complete opposite approach to light compared to Japan, where light comes always from the side to create shadows. And going to the blue, because now you refer also to this beautiful sapphire, again, here, in the architectural form of this jewel, together with the use of the blue, we can go and think about, again, our Japanese culture, because the blue is referred again, obviously, to lapis lazuli, because also in painting we have this color used as a pigment. We have the gunjo iro, which is the ultramarine blue. But the blue in Japan is again linked, first of all, to iro, to the indigo. So indigo is the base of the traditional blue use in all the culture. Then we added only in recent centuries, because it was 1830s that we imported in Japan the Prussian blue. Everything changed. It changed the art history, and it changed also the concept of blue. But if we look at the names of Japanese color, we have all blue colors coming from indigo. Only to say some names, koi ai, the deep blue, the Hanada iro, which is light indigo, koki hanada, very deep indigo, kon iro, which is a navy blue, and here we have also again light and deep blue. And obviously then we have the cobalto blue, the lapis lazuli blue, but they came later in Japan. So when we refer to blue, we refer to a blue which is linked to the sorairo, to the sky, or to, again, the dyeing process. There is a beautiful blue, which is the Kame Nozoki azure, which is a very light celeste azure, which is translated at the blue looking at the bottom of the jar. That was the jar with the indigo color to tie in the process of textile dyeing. So the textile was just put into some of this indigo color to obtain this very light azure. So it's really how can I say, a very mysterious and very fascinating word linked to this color. And today we relate to Japan as the Japan blue. So the blue of Japan has become a fashionable color now. So maybe from now on we will have some new collections going to see to Japan to understand and express the blue.
Very interesting. Ancient Greece and Rome, they didn't have circles as well. They imported circles and the shape of the Pantheon, for example, from Middle East. from the tomb of the Oriental kings that were shaped into the hills, some hills, and then in the long run they also started having blue from lapis lazuli. Again, Middle East affected Far East and West. Looking from our point of view, of course, I want to give you another couple of information, just to allow sort of Stella to get on. So again, octagons, look at that beautiful emerald. Sometimes these jewels are also convertible jewels. This was a satwar brooch that can be turned into a necklace. And now the convertible jewels are quite common in Bulgari design. This little case inspired by the leaves at the base of the Trajan columns, but I wanted to spend a few words about this. Did Romans know ginkgo biloba tree? No. They've never seen a ginkgo biloba tree. So it's really something very interesting, because it's completely a question of chance, of geometry, of sensitiveness in geometry, that they came out with this shape. That is actually the way you geometrically shape the leaf of the ginkgo biloba. And it's interesting because this shape gave the possibility to the ancient Romans to connect, as Miyajima-san was saying, different colors. So the dark red with white, the yellow with green, and that very pavement mosaic of the Thermobars of Caracalla inspired a lot Bulgari design. Recently, we are in the third millennium already, but also because this allowed Bulgari design to get understood, to get connection to Japan and Far East. So sometimes they understood how universal is Roman design, even if it's not being created exactly from the same source. I think it's up to you again.
See, this is really another interesting point, and I love to speak with you because you say what I always try to say also to my students when I'm speaking about Japanese art. The different concept on the color starts from what you show now, which is the mosaic structure. Mosaic structure is a color combination made of small pieces of stones, of glass, put together to create nuances of color. In Japan, this colorful world, this colorful culture, which is the other side of the moon, of the Japanese moon, because we spoke at the beginning about the shadows linked to the Zen, to the Chashitsu, to the tea ceremony world. But when we speak about color, we go to another kind of culture, which is really the Yamato culture, the autochthon, indigenous culture of Japan, that we see in some of these pieces of art, which are ceramics and paintings, etc. And the interesting thing is to say that all of this creation and this concept of colorful works comes in Japan again from textiles, from the ancient time, linked to the Kasane no Irome, which is really the starting point, I think, of the concept of color. Kasane no Irome was an imperial dress code that they started in the Nara period, so before the Heian imperial court, and then they changed and then they combined in a new form during the Heian period, where the color of the dresses indicated the level inside the society and the level of each person in the imperial court. So each one had a different dress, a different coat of dresses, depending on the season, depending on the festivity, depending on the position the person had in this court society. And the interesting thing is that kasane means overlapping. So the color was a concept that is not the mosaic concept, but it's a color coming from the transparency of one color on another color to obtain a new color. Or, as we see in the Kasane no Irome, in the overlapping of kimonos, the color is meant as a perfume. The color name has the perfume name. So we have the kobairo no nioi. So the kaori, the perfume of the plum becoming white, pink, and then red. So the passing of the time on the plum is the name of this gradation of colors. So again, it's really a subtle gradation of several colors to give the effect of one color, which is not a definite color. And this is, I think, the most beautiful and interesting, intriguing discussion in between Western culture and Japanese culture.
Thank you very much. Miyajima-san.
はい。あ、すいません。ルラチオさん、メネガッツさん、
Thank you
あり
very
が
much
とうございまし
indeed.
た。すごく、
And I think we've
ブルガリのジュエリーがどん
heard
な風にローマの街と結びついているかということ
a great
を
deal about how
私
close the
自
links
身
between
も
Bvlgari
日
jewelry
本で
and
生まれ育
Rome
ちな
are.
がらそのメネガッツさん
And
が
while was
お
born
話
and
ししてく
raised
だ
in
さった
Japan,
日本にどれぐらいこう色のバリエーションがあって
the
どんな
Japanese
風な
variety of
ことが
colors and
名
how
付けられっていうこ
that
とを
has
そのブルガリのジュエリー
put
という
down
も
roots
のを
is
通じ
something
てなん
that
か初めて
I never
皆
learnt
さんとお
about.
話を
So Bvlgari
知れ
jewelry
てな
taught
んか
me
すご
about
く
that for the first time.
豊かな体験をしたなという感じなんです
So
けれ
this
ど
is a
も
very rich
あの
experience for me.
で、まあ、今のお二人の話を
As
あ
I
の
listened to
その
both
まま
of you
展覧会にし
talk,
たらすごくいい展覧会になるんじゃない
I
かっ
thought it'd be a
て
great
お
idea if
話
we
を
did
伺っ
an
たんですが
exhibition,
今日
just
はローマ
exactly
の
as you had
オ
said.
ルマンさんを呼んで
And I want
オ
to
ルマンさ
invite
んに
back
お話を
Gislan
聞いてみ
from
たいと思い
Rome
ます。
once again.
どうでしたか？
What did you think, Gislan?
What I always consider is that these exhibitions are moments to really properly create connections. And I hope, I believe that everyone understood the strong connections between cultures. I've learned a lot of things, particularly on the Japanese experience of colors. I knew some of the key elements, of course, of Rome, but it's always refreshing and important to connect. And I believe that both inspiration from architecture on one side, more the Italian one, from nature on the other one, for the Japanese side, were very interesting to be put together in one presentation. So I hope it helps to really understand how, from different point of views, actually cultures could merge in bridges in their presentation. Thank you to all of you.
はい、オークランドの皆さんありがとうございます。
Auckland, thank you so
まだ
much.
そうですね、5分
We have 5 more
まだ
minutes
まだ
left
あるので、少しその
until
もう少し
7 o'clock.
ラチオさん、
So
メガツさんと
maybe
他
I
の皆さんにコメント
want
いた
to
だきたいん
ask
ですけど、
Constantino and Rosetta a little more
ド
questions.
ラチオさんが今た
So, Mr.
紹介して
Dorazio,
いただいたこう、ジュエリー
you
ですね。の
introduced
中で
the
今ちょっとお二人
juries,
の中で紫色
and between you,
が
you were talking
そ
about
の
purple.
日本においても
Whether it be in Japan or in the West, it's a noble color. It's often worn by the emperors or someone in a high position. There was a bit of a crosstalk there.
なんかその一方で
Meanwhile,
そのジュエリーで言うと紫色っていうの
when
は
you speak purple in terms of jewelry, it's amethyst. So amethyst, maybe I should ask Gislam, but so amethyst is a traditional European jewelry category. So there's precious stone and there's half precious or semi-precious, excuse me, semi-precious stones. And amethyst, the purple gemstone, is not precious stone. It's actually semi-precious stone, half step down in the category. However, Bulgari has really enhanced the value of amethyst, especially in their design. So I think there's a history of Bulgari adding value to the semi-precious stones. So Jocelyn, would you like to explain about this?
Absolutely, with great pleasure. Amethyst has been classified by scientists and gemologists as semi-precious in the 19th century, as it was less precious because more frequently found, so easier to obtain. However, a good purple quality in terms of color is hard to find, and it's good to know that before the 19th century, amethyst was not as common, in fact, as it is now, because we found some mines today that allows to have more, bigger shapes of amethyst with different shapes. So in the past, it was not so frequent, and it actually also was an interesting stone that had quite a higher value for royalty. And if we go back to antiquity, Greece and Rome mostly, it was considered a very important stone, not a semi-precious one. So it's interesting to see that it's always a question of culture. Whether you talk about the past or the present, whether you talk about one culture or the other, you actually have references. Amethyst comes from a Greek word, amethistos, which is a funny word because it means you're not going to be drunk. And I'm talking about alcohol, sorry, on this one, because the legend said that there was a beautiful nymph, so a sort of goddess of nature, who was in the nature, and god Dionysus, Bacchus for the Latin, the god of wine, fell in love with her, tried to catch her, and she got transformed to save her life into a crystal. And because the god was very unhappy, he just threw the glass of wine onto the crystal, and the crystal absorbs the color of the wine and became purple. And so because she escaped from the god of wine, it is said that the crystal was a magic power to not being drunk, because the god of wine was, of course, drinking too much wine. That was the idea. So this color came from the word of wine, became from legends and about it. It was very much appreciated in Roman traditions because of that legend. So it's not by chance that Bulgari today reconnects with Greek or Roman legends, I would say, as we have seen, and that it's a very interesting color also in our selections.
Thank you so much for that comment. That was really interesting. So finally, Mr. Dorazio and Menegazzo, would you like to say final words for this session? Just an impression, a comment, if you wish.
Yes, no, I was listening to you, Gillian, now about this legend that I didn't know. I didn't know about this, so I'm thinking again about the new book that we have to do on the colors, maybe the next one. And I wanted to ask to Constantine about the red color, because we didn't speak about it, but I think that maybe the Murasaki in Japanese culture is more close in the concept and in the importance that we give to this color, to the red that we use, and also in our culture. And because the references
I don't know anything about Murasaki, but
no, the purple that we said that it's linked to the imperial color.
Well,
the red in Europe maybe is more.
It depends on where you use your red color.
Yeah.
If you use a red color in Rome, it is immediately a cardinal red color. And it's not by chance that there's a brooch by Bulgari that we didn't have the time to show, but it's in the exhibition, that has been inspired by St. Peter's Square, so the square which is the entrance point of the Vatican City, with rubies. So they decided to link diamonds and rubies. So they use white and red, which I would say is most probably a cardinal red, because it's immediately connected to these figures of so important in Rome for centuries.
Which is the same red that we have in the theaters, no? It's
Yes,
different.
somehow. But I think that in theaters it's got a different tradition. It's got a different
not coming
situation.
from the cardinal.
Not really.
The
Not
cardinal
really.
red,
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, no, because also these different positions in absorbing, no, in the colors and the different concept that we have, the different approach that we have to materials goes as an effect to our applied arts and to our jewelry, obviously, and also to the construction of the colors in our garments. Today you were speaking about the watch string and the matching with the dress, no?
This watch is not matching.
You said that it's not matching because it's brown with gray and black, and
black.
An Italian man usually
an elegant one, at least. An elegant Italian man.
An elegant Italian man dresses and uses the watch. Which color?
All of the leather accessories. So shoes, belt, and watch, and there should be, or bags match. If you have, they should match same color. So, either brown or black for a gentleman. And for ladies, no, I mean, you can use any color.
So if you see an elegant Italian man, you will have shoes, belt, and watch.
The watch string.
With the same color.
Yes,
but
usually.
If you look to Japanese tradition, you have all the colors mixing in a very subtle balance, which is not completely matched. So this is a completely different approach, and today I was enjoying this discussion, and I was thinking about the different construction of the kimonos arrangement, which is also affecting the all the ceramics, for example, but also the selection of colors in design. And obviously in jewelry. And the other matter that I wanted to ask to Constantino about is jewelry is made in Bulgari tradition to fit the body, no?
Yeah.
To be one part of the body.
I think Ghislaine has more to say about this. No, Ghislaine, how much Bulgari jewelry it's really designed as a perfect mechanism, but how, you can say, I think, much more than me, how much it is a perfect, like geometrical shape, but when it gets into a woman body, it's perfectly adapting.
It has to fit perfectly. Yes, absolutely, I agree. It has been something important that Mr. Giorgio and Mr. Paolo Bulgari, so the second, the third generation of the family, always said that at the end of the day, they're supposed to be worn by a human body. So they have to be comfortable. They have to be, of course, bold, powerful. They represent a design, but they have to be wearable and comfortable in the way of wearing. So yes, they have a beautiful design, but they have to be naturally positioned on the body, indeed.
And this is linked to the fact that also the concept of the body is completely different if we compare to Japanese body. So if we wear a kimono, we cannot wear the kind of necklace fitting the body, because the kimono completely intend not to show the body, but to cover the body. So the jewelry construction and form depends also on the body language and concept, on the dress, obviously, form. And I was thinking, and I said before, but I want to say this again today. Maybe ladies here can agree or not, that in Japanese tradition we don't have so a long and big and strong tradition of jewelry in sense like Bulgari, because the most important jewelry that we can see are accessories fitting the obi, fitting the hair, so kanzashi, hairpins, or obidome, or netsuke, but they are accessories not fitting, not matching with the body itself.
Because the body is covered.
Because the body is covered. And so you don't have this kind of tradition. So the Bulgari tradition and maybe Italian jewelry is so fascinating to Japanese people, to maybe Asian people, also because of this difference. No, it's the exotic in the opposite way that
The other way around.
about, yeah.
ありがとうございます。もう
Thank you. I think we can continue to talk. It's just so fascinating, starting with the jewelry from Bulgaria, the differences and commonalities between Japan and Italy. And I think, we have been able to talk very deeply, and I think we can continue to expand on this subject. But thank you so much, Constantino and Rosetta and Gislan, also from participating from Rome. And I also want to thank the audience for listening to us to the end. So please give the speakers a big round of applause. Thank you.